What's up, everybody? This is Mike over here at Mike's Custom Works, and this is probably going to be one of my most unliked videos. Probably a lot of my subscribers are going to leave, say fuck you, everything under the sun. What this video is about, it's about how the Hellcat destroyed Challengers. And I'm not talking about with speed. I'm talking about the car itself. Now, what am I getting at here? Well, in 2009, Dodge decided to bring back the Challenger. And they brought it back where it looked just like the old classics. And it had a very basic, boring steering wheel, unlike this. Very basic, boring interior, unlike this. Didn't have these fancy leather seats, and so on and so forth. It had, some of them had leather seats, but most of the time they were cloth. And the interior looked exactly like the Dodge Avenger. It was very boring. I didn't like them. I liked they brought the car back, but I felt like the car was kind of like a little goofy looking. In 2012, they had the SRT that came out, and the SRT was like, whoo, changed the body a little bit, made it a little sexier. And one of the things I'm getting at with this video that this car has that other cars don't is if I go to SRT mode, I could change the whole inner workings of my car. So I have it on economy mode because I have it as a daily driver. But if I go to default, it unleashes it with 707 horsepower, street mode for, the transmission, paddle shifters are set off, traction, suspension is street. That I've noticed is probably basically the best really kind of setup for me, for my car. Now I'm going to stick you on the dash. I've been having a lot of fucking issues with this this thing here. I don't know if it's because I try to charge my phone at the same time or whatever the situation is. So we have it on default mode. Now default mode, this is the 2015 for the ones who don't know it, Hellcat. Now, what's the video about? Why is this video titled How the Hellcat Destroyed the Challengers? Well, put it this way, right? So we're going back to 2009 when they first brought the Challengers back, and between 2009 and 2012 they started coming out with they had 3 different models that came out. And right away when young people and people were in their like 50s and 40s and 30s who may or may not have had the old 70s Challengers, when they saw them come back out and then they came out with the SRT, everybody was like, oh fuck yeah, they ran out and they bought them. 20,000, 30,000, whatever it was. And I remember as being in my younger days, I was, let's see how old I was in 2012. I was 22 years old. And at 22 years old, if you had a Challenger, in my eyes, you were somebody who had like basically money, or you were somebody who was doing better than I was, obviously, because at 22 years old I was doing shit. And people like that who had those cars, I always looked up at them as if they were like, superior to me, and they were, they were superior to me. So for a long time I always wanted a Challenger. I love classic cars. That's why my car has the sublime green, just like the original Challengers are. That's why I went for the sublime green. The black hood was just a pure coincidence because it was the only green one that came available in New York, and I had to buy it because I wanted it. And originally I was looking at getting myself a Scat Pack because I like the Scat and I like the ones with the rumble hoods and stuff, and I thought that was really cool. And then there was a Hellcat that was only like $20,000 more, and I was like, if I don't get the Hellcat, I'm never going to hear the end of it from my friends and stuff and myself. So I was like, fuck it, let me go for the Hellcat, and then lo and behold, I was able to get it. But how did the Hellcat destroy the Challenger outlook? Well, here's exactly how it destroyed it. A lot of people ran out there and they had the SRT 2012 Challengers, and my neighbors got one too. And I like it, don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of the front end. I like these front ends a lot better. They're a lot more muscle car-y look. The other ones kind of just I don't like the grill. You know, you could always change out the grill. And they're very customizable too, like the headlights, and you could put halos on, you could do all this random shit to the older model ones. But then you just look like a copycat and you look like you're pathetic. Well, in 2015, Dodge decided, the SRT brand decided, well, Chevy's Camaro was going up in horsepower, and the Mustang had a horsepower that was making a little over 600 and change horsepower. Dodge SRT division knew that they couldn't just they can't be outperformed by Ford. So they decided that instead of being outperformed by Ford, they're going to come out with this insane car that makes 707 horsepower and unleash it on the people in the market, and people flocked to it. 2015, I was 25 years old. This thing hit the market. It was like a wet dream for me. It was a car that I always wanted, and I never thought I'd ever buy it because I never thought I'd be able to afford it. Well, for a lot of people out there who can't afford an $80,000 muscle car and use it as a daily driver, you're stuck with buying the $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 base models. Or you get like the base model V6, I think it's like 20-some odd $1,000. Or you end up going for like, you know, the $30,000 change V8 with most of the options, but not all of them. Well, what happened was a lot of people who had, you know, the regular, you know, Challengers, the 2012 SRTs, you know, at the time, they were hot shit. You know, you had the SRT, the SRT8, they were hot shit. You know, they were the cool kid on the block. You know, if you had an SRT, you were the cool kid on the block. And if you didn't have an SRT, you weren't the cool kid on the block. Well, when Dodge decided to come out with the Hellcat, that was when the car game changed significantly. And it was so significant that people who had regular Challengers became nobodies. You became a nobody in the blink of an eye. If you have a regular Challenger, you're a nobody. And I'm not saying that you are from my own point of view. I'm saying you are from everybody's point of view. It's like if I went for the Scat Pack, I would have been basically poked fun at and made fun of by my friends who have muscle cars, and they would have been like, whoa, Mike, why didn't you go for the Hellcat? I couldn't afford it. Oh, that sucks. How much was it? Oh, it was this much. Oh, shit. Well, how much was that car? Oh, it was only like $20,000 less. Oh, you know, you still have all the similar options. Yeah, except, you know, where am I really going to use 700 horsepower, but you know, the fastest I've got this car up to was 150. I ran out of the road. But, nevertheless, people that I'll roll up on, I'll be at, like, car show, or I'll be at, like, a traffic light, and I'll see, like, another Challenger sitting at the traffic light, and the guy's got his music going, and, you know, he's feeling cool. And then I roll up in this thing. And his whole, like, feeling dies. Like, his whole energy just dies. Because anybody who knows anything about Challengers, when they see a Hellcat roll up next to a regular Challenger, it's a status symbol at that point. And they look at that guy like, oh, why couldn't you get one of those? Well, maybe that person can't afford it. Maybe maybe that person's still paying off the loan of that Challenger. Maybe they don't want a Hellcat. You know, there's multiple reasons why a lot of people don't go for a Hellcat or they don't go for a Demon. Look at this idiot. People just can't drive anymore these days. There's a lot of reasons why people don't go for one of these when they already have a Challenger. What's the point of having one? What do I need one for? I already got a Challenger. You know, there's a lot of things people will make excuses for why not to go out and buy one. You know, oh, it costs a lot of money in fuel. Yeah, if you drive around in, you know, default mode all the time at 60, 70 miles an hour. Yeah, I'm getting like 22 right now with my foot like on the throttle, but you know, if I'm on economy mode cruising over here, I get like, you know, 35 miles to the gallon. How accurate is that? I don't know, pretty accurate, because I can usually go like 2 weeks without filling up my tank. And it's like a 15 or 16 gallon fuel tank, so that's not too bad. It only cost me like 45 at the pump for premium. And you know, I have a Speedway discount card, so I get 7 cents off per gallon. And then if I have, you know, points saved up, I can, you know, rack in even more points off, or more cents off per gallon. Little tips and tricks like that. Even 7-Eleven and Costco has that little option. But nevertheless, where the Hellcat destroyed the whole Challenger outlook was, you know, a lot of people, they went for those base model Challengers because, or not the base, but they weren't really the base at the time. You know, they were the new Challengers at the time, the 2009s, the 2012s with the V8 Hemi. You know, those were the Challengers. And then SRT stepped up their game, and then they stepped it up again with the Demon. And I kind of get like this weird feeling from people sometimes at a car show if they're driving a Demon and I have a Hellcat, because they're looking at me like, oh, why don't you have a Demon? Well, I have a Hellcat. I still have car payments to do. I wanted a Hellcat. I didn't just want a Hellcat. I wanted the original Hellcats. You know, this is the first gen Hellcats. This is the 707 series. You know, 707 horsepower is the first year that they came out. It's in 2015. That's what I wanted. You know, I collect cars. So this to me is a collector's item. It's the first year they came out. She's still like a baby with 17,000 miles on the clock now. I bought her when she had 14,000 on it. So yeah, I put some mileage on it and stuff, but you know, I bought it for myself because I was turning 30. I was 29 years old and I always wanted a Hellcat and I had enough money. So I went for it. I jumped on it. And you know, it's been a love-hate relationship. The hate is the car payment sometimes, but I'm getting closer to paying it off in another 5 to 6 years. But what's funny is I'll come across other people who have like base model Challengers and stuff at a car show, and I'll be parked far away from them out of like more or less respect for them. And I'll like go walk around and they're so excited about their car, which you should be. You should be excited for what you have. But then all of a sudden, like somebody will say, like while I'm standing over there, like, hey, you should look over there. Look, there's a Hellcat over there. And as soon as I hear the word like Hellcat said, it's like, oh shit. The look on their face, they go from like smiling, happy, feeling like the center of attention to like a nobody in a matter of seconds. Because now they know that that person knows that there's a Hellcat over there. And that those people that were once flocked around their Challenger saying, oh man, I wish I could afford one of these, $25,000, are now going to go look at an $80,000 muscle car, or $70,000, or $50,000, whatever it goes for. Now they're going to flock over to this like high-end car, top-of-the-line Challenger, you know, 1,000 screaming horsepower, not 1,000, but you know, 700 screaming horsepower. I don't know why I took my seatbelt off. I guess I'm tired of it strangling me today. So now people are going to flock over to that guy who has that car, and you know, that person's car is a nothing now at that point. And unfortunately, that is like the #1 thing that really killed the Challenger outlook, because for like an example, one of my neighbors down the block, you know, he had a, I don't know what year it is, but he has a Challenger, but it's like a Scat Pack. Right? I think it's a Scat Pack. So he's got a Scat Pack Challenger. And I always thought, man, that thing is so cool. And then, you know, I had the crazy idea to go out and buy this thing. Well, his little cool factor kind of went out the window, because it's like, oh, well, now the neighbor down the road went and bought like what looks like a brand new Challenger. Well, unfortunately, like I said, now his little cool factor goes down and out the window. And it kind of sucks for him a little bit, because now, instead of him having that like cool factor about it around his friends and shit, it's not cool anymore for him. And it kind of really kills the outlook for other people who have Challengers that are a lower model. You know, if you have a base model Challenger, or you have, you know, if you have basically any Challenger that's not a Hellcat, people now look down on you a little bit at like, oh, well, why couldn't you get a Hellcat, or why couldn't you afford a Hellcat, you know? And it's unfortunately, it's a really shitty situation that people are then now tossed into, and it's all stems down to basically the vehicle itself. Now, what's funny is I didn't notice this at all when it came down to the Camaros or the Mustangs. Now, of course, I don't have a Camaro or a Mustang, so I don't really know exactly how those people are dealing with, you know, somebody who passes them in like a Shelby, you know, or, you know, GT 500. 500, is that one of the Mustangs? I might be mistaken on that one. You know, unfortunately, you know, the car itself has a lot of drawbacks when it comes down to other people. You know, my car sits a lot lower. I can tell the difference from another Challenger on the road. They right away know, as soon as they see this thing come down the road, basically scraping all the way, they already know that this thing is, you know, not a normal stock Challenger. This thing is the base model Challenger. This is the Hellcat Challenger. And actually, since I changed the thing, car raised up a little bit. But that's basically really it on what I wanted to say on how like the Hellcats and the Demons kind of destroyed the Challenger outlooks, because now those people have to now look up to others who have high performance Challengers and are like, well, why not me? You know, like, oh, well, my Challenger's still good. You know, I still like my Challenger, but I wish I had one of those. And unfortunately, that's where, you know, issues with, you know, the car world really come into play, where people kind of start going like, well, I would buy one of those, but I don't have the money. Then they feel like they're less of a person because they can't afford a fancier car, when they possibly could if all they did was trade in their car, depending on the payments on it and what their value of their car is worth. By the time most of the time, by the time somebody goes to trade in their Challenger, it's not really worth anything anymore. And a lot of times I've come across too with people is they'll have like a 2009 Challenger, they completely dropped in like 10 grand worth of work in it, and it's a little gaudy, and then someone like myself will roll up in a Hellcat or a Demon, and their factor of their car being like really cool and unique goes out the window, because now it's not. It's like, oh, well, you're just trying to be like that guy. You know, that's the type of feeling that those people end up getting, because I've talked to some people who have, you know, like the lower model Challengers and stuff, and they're like, you know, when I bought my car, I really loved it, and I really like it, but then when the Hellcats came out, I thought, wow, those things are really cool, and then when I started getting surrounded by Hellcats on the road and stuff, he's like, I feel like I'm driving like a Prius. And I'm like, you're still driving a Challenger. You should be happy and proud of your car. Just because somebody has a Hellcat or a Demon doesn't mean that they're better than you, even though their car theoretically is. But you shouldn't feel like you're just driving a piece of shit now because Dodge came out with a higher performance model. You know, if you really feel like that, then go out and get one. But I think if the Hellcats and the Demons didn't come out, all the 2012s and 13s and 14s and all the new ones that would have came out afterwards would have basically just been like another cookie cutter car. And it would have been like, oh, you have the new model Challenger. Oh, what's new in it? Oh, it's got 5 more horsepower in it. That's cool. Mine's got like 405. Yours has 4010. You know, like, it would be something moderate like that, instead of me being next to somebody who's got like a 405 horsepower Challenger and I'm sitting there with 707 horsepower idling like a race car. You know, it's kind of kills their like morale and stuff. But anyway, guys, that is how the Hellcats, in my opinion, destroyed the name of the lower model Challengers, at least for the buyers and the people who have them. Anyway, guys, I hope to see you in the next video. You can like it, dislike it, subscribe it, send it to your friends, comment on the video, what's your point of view. If anybody knows any Camaro or Mustang owners, if they feel like the same thing out there with their vehicles, drop a comment down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.